Okay.
Hare Krishna. So I'll just repeat once more that some of you who have been chanting or who are have already started practicing spiritual life, you would have probably understood yesterday what happened in the class. But many of you who were new to this concept of discovering your inner self, it might take you a little more time to get a feel of what actually we are talking about. So no problem. Today we shared our live session with you, and I'll also be tomorrow sharing the PPT. So whenever you're free, you go through it and try to understand, and however much you can. Also, one small request before we begin, that I appreciate that you please keep noting down your questions, and some of you we can attend to in the live session, but those whom we cannot attend, I would prefer that you would take your questions at the end of day 6. Reason being, because many of the things which you people are asking in WhatsApp questions are yet to come in the coming sessions. But still, I don't want to ignore that. But for the benefit of everybody, I would request that we take up the questions at the end of the 6th day, or maybe on the 7th day. And if that time also it's not answered, please still don't get disappointed. I will not leave any of the questions unanswered. So we will start. And Neeta, if you want to try, you can try.
I'm trying actually. It hasn't, I don't know why it's not picking up the downloaded. It's not showing me an option for PPT here. It might take a while. So can I suggest we do it tomorrow maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to waste time.
Maybe
now. Yeah.
after the class, if you can stay for 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Then we can just discover, because from next day you again get busy, even I get busy.
Yeah. Or maybe tomorrow when we are doing the subtitle one and this, we can do both together.
Okay, so maybe a little early tomorrow login.
Yeah, should be fine.
So we'll begin. So Hare Krishna, everybody, and welcome you all for second day of Discover Yourself. So we will be venturing into a new session. So I'll start sharing the PPT. So sorry. So as you would have seen, that the topic that we're going to take up today is reincarnation and consciousness. Now, in yesterday's class, we studied that what is my true identity. My real or true identity is that I am a soul which is eternal. It was never born and it will never die. The body to which we are so attached is temporary, and that the body is not our true identity. So in the session today, we are going to learn about reincarnation. So soul or Atma, as we just read on the PPT, soul or Atma gives life to the body. If there is no soul, there is no life. Now, the relationship between the soul and the body is similar to the relationship between a driver and his car. The driver exists even if there is no car. But the car without the driver is just a piece of metal. So, this conclusion is actually our first understanding of spiritual life, that I am a soul, I am permanent, I am eternal, and this body, which is like a car, is just dead matter, or it is dead without the existence of the soul. So, building from this, we can continue our topic for today, that is reincarnation. Okay, so if I am telling you that reincarnation is there, and what is reincarnation? That after death, the soul moves on and takes up another body. So if you tell me that, okay, Mataji, I believe, that incarnation is there, it is a truth, but still, how will I, how will I get to know what my next life is going to be? I'd like to know. I want to curious about it, that what my next life is going to be if the process of incarnation is a truth. So the way you can assess that your what your next body depends on your own actions. How you act and how you desire is going to assess your next birth. And that is, so basically we are right now, when you're sitting in front of your computers or phones and you're listening to the session, is actually each and every second we are creating our next body. For the next birth we are creating our next body. And what is the proof? Is there any proof? Does scriptures give us any proof? So Bhagavad Gita 8.6, Krishna says, what you remember at death results from your actions, thoughts, and desires of your entire lifetime. So, whatever you have been thinking at the end of the birth, obviously you will be thinking the same thing. If you're thinking of money and enjoyment and all those things for our senses, then that is exactly what you're going to think at the end of your life, isn't it? So, accordingly, Krishna is going to give you the next body. So there is a very famous example. Since we do not have time, we cannot get into the exact story. But there was a great devotee of the Lord. He was Maharaj Bharat. And although he was a true Krishna conscious person, but yet somehow he developed love for a deer. And as his death was approaching, he was so much in love with the deer that when he died in his next life, he became a deer himself. So there's a lot of text here. So let me just narrate the whole thing to you. Now you would be wondering, can actually we become an animal? Are we? I was always under the impression that okay, I am now a human being and I'm continuing to remain a human being. I was very, very confident, but here Mataji is telling me that you can also become an animal in your next birth. Is it really possible? So reincarnation, my friends, is actually not limited only to human species. The difference between an animal and a human being is only the body. And there is no difference between the soul of a human and the soul of a animal or a bird or an insect, anything. The soul, the quality of the soul is same for everybody. And according to our scriptures, there are 84 lakh species of life. And you, who are a spirit soul, have to accept the body of a particular species according to your karma, according to your desires, and according to your activities. So can you believe it? What you are going to become in your next life is not in the hands of Krishna. It is actually in your own hands. What you are thinking, constantly what you're thinking, constantly what activity you are performing is going to decide your next life. It is as simple as that. And what actually is happening, the soul keeps evolving. And the nature's process is that it goes from lower species to higher species. It goes from lower forms of life to higher forms of life up till when? Till one gets a human form. So human form is the highest form as far as this material world is concerned. So the same soul or the same person who, thousands of years ago, suppose he was living in the body of a fish or a reptile or a tree or an animal, whatever, is now living in the body of a human being. So if someone behaves like a dog or a pig, what do you mean? What do I mean by behaving like a dog? If you're constantly fighting, if you're shouting at people, if you don't bother what you're eating, you're constantly eating non-vegetarian food, you're having a dirty lifestyle, constantly drinking, you're unhygienic, and you're involved into all kind of illegal activities. So is that life of a human being? That is more like a life of a dog. So what do you expect Krishna to give you in the next life? It's quite doubtful that you're going to become a human being in the next form. Now, here, people who are gathered here on this platform might not believe, but trust me, my friends, there are people in the world who think that animals do not have a soul. Now, since I took up this topic because although it is a little sidetrack topic, but then there are people in the world who are killing animals, who are eating animals for own sense enjoyment because they think that animals do not have a soul. So that's why I have prepared this slide, and I just wanted to give you a brief on to prove that yes, animals do have a soul. So our Vedas, our scriptures confirm that all living beings have a soul, whether they are humans or animals or they are vegetations like plants. Everybody has a soul. Now, animals, like human beings, have you seen? They eat, they sleep, they mate, and they also protect themselves. Are we as human beings not doing the same thing? We are also eating, we are also sleeping, we are also having sexual relationships, and at the same time, we are also protecting ourselves from enemies or from any kind of danger. So, animals are also doing the same thing. And why? Because animals and us both have a soul. Otherwise, there is absolutely no difference between an animal and a human being. Only one difference. And the difference is that human beings are given more intelligence. So basically, all the living beings go through six processes. They go through their body goes through six changes. What is the change? They are created, means they are born. Then they grow, like from a baby infant, we grow till old age people. Animal also is born and animal is also growing. Then we reproduce, our similar species. Human beings will have a baby which is similar to human being. A dog will give birth to a small puppy. A cat will give birth to a kitten. So that is another process. So we get birth and we keep growing. And when we keep growing, what do? We reproduce of our similar kinds. Then for some time we are maintained. We remain like that. And as the time comes, we are destroyed. We are we die, all of us die. So these are the six changes which all of us go, whether it is animal, whether it is a bird, whether it is human being, we all go. Why? Because this is the process. We have a soul and we have a body. So animals also, my dear friends, have a soul. Okay, so Mataji has really scared us, and she's saying that there is quite a possibility that if I don't mind my manners, if I don't control myself, I will also become an animal. So what happens when one becomes an animal? What is going to happen to me if by chance I become an animal? It feels so frightening. So the process that happens is that the soul gradually evolves through higher and higher species until it reaches human form, is what I told you in the last slide also. You know, but now please listen very carefully. An animal is not responsible for his activities. Why? Because it lacks the intelligence which human beings have. Humans are giving higher consciousness, humans are giving higher intelligence. So, if an animal is not responsible for their activities, it cannot go down the lower species. When an animal is killed, why? How does a cat killed? Cat is killed by a dog. So, whom is she thinking about when she's dying? She's thinking about dog. And whatever we are thinking at the time of death, we take the same body is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So when you are dying, when the cat is dying, she is looking at the dog, and definitely her next life will be a dog. So an animal does not come down the species; it always goes up the species because they have an advantage because do not have intelligence. So if, in other words, if a tiger kills you, he does not get a reaction of killing because it has It is his nature to kill. What will it do? It doesn't know anything. It doesn't have the intelligence to think of anything else. But by the time the same soul traveling from so many species after crossing 84 lakh species, if when he reaches a human form, he becomes responsible for all his activities. He starts getting reaction for his good deeds and also for his bad deeds. He gets share of his pap and he also gets share of his punya. Why? Because now he's already evolved and become a human. And humans are responsible for whatever action. He's no longer an animal. So, in other words, my dear friends, if you kill the tiger needlessly for whatever reason, for your own selfish reason, you will get a reaction. Whereas a tiger killing you will not get a reaction. Am I able to make myself clear? So, the human being can degrade himself through his actions, whereas the animals progresses automatically because animal will not come down to lower species because he does not have to face the reactions. He has no intelligence to face the reactions. He has no intelligence to decide. So am I able to make myself clear? It's a little tricky concept. It might take some time to absorb. Is that okay? So we'll get to know the feedback. We'll move on.
Yeah, they're all saying fine.
Okay. So now the question is, we have accepted, yes, we're going to incarnate, we might move down to animal species, but how many times? How many times will this process keep going on and on and on? So you can reincarnate endless cycles up and down this material world if you want to, if it is your desire. If you want, you can endlessly, millions of years, we are here eternally because we are eternal souls. We are going up and down. We don't know how many millions of years. Only Krishna knows. But when you come to human life, it is a golden opportunity to stop this troublesome business. This is the only life, it is the only species who can come out, who can break this cycle of repeated birth and death, birth and death. Because only humans have the intelligence to understand and break this cycle and finally go back to the spiritual world and not come again. So now someone might say, is there any proof? Because many people are there who cannot believe anything beyond science. For them, they need all scientific evidence. So is there any proof? So I'm going to share with you some interesting facts which are all scientifically based. And let's see what does the science say about it. So here we have taken an example which is called out of body experience, OBE. So here an example has been taken of people who have been in coma or who are suffering from some prolonged diseases, who are not able to see or interact, or maybe some accident, some fatal accident. And for many years, I mean, or maybe few months, they are lying in the hospitals unconscious. So during this time, when they are lying unconscious, they have some extraordinary visions. So there's a lot of matter here, Rita.
Yeah.
Skip fast.
Okay.
So scientific study prove certain things. So what happens when this person is lying unconscious or is in coma? By chance, when they come out of this their unconscious state, they have some amazing stories to share, and these are all scientific truths. There are many articles on net which you can read about these out of body experiences. So when they become conscious, they explain what actually happened to them. They tell how their soul went out of the body. They witness whatever is happening around this body which is lying there. Then most of them enter like a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, they see a beautiful light, a heavenly light, and after which they go to some beautiful place like a heaven, which is not that kind of place you cannot see on earth. And when they go at such places, believe me, they have met the people who have already died, their friends, their relatives. They meet them, and finally they return back to their own body. So, like this, there are many other scientific studies also which proves the existence of a soul and the process also of reincarnation. Like for example, there are a lot of children. I don't know if any of you are aware that we have seen that there are a lot of children in their very young age when they are constantly talking about people whom their parents don't know. They are talking about places which their parents have never traveled. So they are talking about their previous life, although it is a very rare phenomena, but there are incidences. There are many such records, and we can actually search when if we want to Google, we can see there are incidences where the hypnotist will be there and they will try to treat the child. But slowly, when they grow up, they forget. The memories, they will be washed out. But in the very infant stages, children have come up with cases where they are able to recall their past life. So this is also another example of that which proves that yes, the soul reincarnates. The child would have died and he has moved now to another family. So these are some of the scientific truths which I wanted to share with you. Many religions across the world, they do believe in it. Is not just Hinduism. Many religions believe in reincarnation, the concept of reincarnation. And especially if we read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita or we read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially there is a detailed description, especially in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2 is all about the soul, and we read a lot of description even of reincarnation. So these two jewels of our literature, of our scriptures, you can get a lot of information about soul and reincarnation. So apart from, of course, that child whom I was talking about, who happened to remember his past, but those cases are very rare. Most of us do not remember what happened to us in the past. It is our tendency to forget. Now, if I ask you, do you really remember what happened with you yesterday? What did you eat in your breakfast? Or what happened with you same day, like today is what, Thursday? What happened with you last Thursday? Can you give a detail of all that? So we have a tendency that we forget and we cannot remember every small details of our life. It is very few people have that sharp memory where they can remember so many things. So similarly, to remember our past life also is very unlikely. And also, there is a reason, because if you want to remember our past life, it will be so painful. For example, if somebody has died in a car accident, that is just an example I'm taking, or somebody could have had a very painful past. So it is very difficult. Anyways, in this life, we have so many problems. We are struggling with so many problems with our body, with our relationships, with the corona and this some earthquake or something other keeps happening. So, anyways, we have so much of struggles. On top of it, if we are able to remember our past life, can we handle it? I think we'll all go mad. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjun that, oh, Arjun, you do not remember your past, your previous births, but I remember all of them. So Krishna remembers, but he makes us forget all these things, because if he doesn't, it is going to be a very difficult journey for all of us. It is very good that we forget. It is for our own peace of mind. So here we are on the almost on the last slide of our session, and so how all this connects us to God. So that is how I have come up with this topic of brain consciousness and God. So obviously, when the soul leaves the body, there is no source, to give energy to the body. What is the source? Because the soul only is the energy giving thing. Like how we studied yesterday that when electricity comes, only then the bulb will light up. Similarly, without soul, there is no energy. There is no body. There's nothing in our body. We are dead matter. So, consciousness, my dear friends, is actually the energy of the soul. The soul channelizes the consciousness through the brain to the entire body. So, a very tiny spark of, what we read yesterday. What is the size of the soul? 1 by 10,000 part of a tip of a hair. If you take a tip of the hair and you divide it by 10,000 parts, that one part is your size of the soul. So that tiny spark actually gives consciousness to our entire body. Through our brain, it gives consciousness to our entire body. So that is the relationship between us and God. And how do we get that relation? When we chant Hare Krishna, or when we listen to such sessions, when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, our consciousness I just spoke about consciousness. It is it is the energy of the soul. That consciousness slowly becomes pure consciousness. Why do I say it becomes pure consciousness? Because we are a pure soul. But when we come in contact with this body, this body that is visible, it becomes impure. Why? Because this body has so many desires. We are constantly wanting this and this and this and that, and we forget the soul. Did anybody of you knew beforehand that yes, soul is my real identity? We forget about this, who the soul is. All we are bothered about is maintaining this body. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, our consciousness slowly becomes pure, and then we are able to connect to God. So in the upcoming sessions, we will be taking up this chapter, also a session about, if there is so many religions, why God, and we are going to discuss more about how we can connect to God, and why we read Bhagavad Gita. So in all these 6 sessions, we'll be taking up all these things also. And there's something like on a detail one class will be on karma also, like why I am such a good human being and why all these bad things are happening to me. So all those things we are going to cover in the days to come, in 4 days, about religion, about God, about Bhagavad Gita, about what is karma, and why people are suffering. I never committed a sin. Why am I suffering? My neighbor who is so sinful, my relative who is so sinful, and he's enjoying. What is the reason? So there's so many questions that we have. As I said when we were announcing this course, that Discover Yourself is a journey which will give you a new perspective to look at life. It will bring you happiness and contentment.